The beautiful blue and green planet called Zelhari Prime was shaking with fear. In the old stone towers where the smartest Zelhari studied the stars, elder scientist Veltar looked at his calculations and felt his heart sink. A giant space rock was coming straight toward their world. This asteroid was 3 times bigger than their largest moon. It was moving fast. Veltar's young assistant stood beside him, her voice trembling as she asked, "How much time do we have left?" The old scientist's forearms were shaking as he typed numbers into their basic communication system. 18 cycles, maybe 20 if the space winds slow it down, he answered. But his voice showed he didn't have much hope. The Zelhari people had never learned how to travel faster than light. They had built a few small mining stations near their planet, but that was about it. Their technology was simple compared to other species in the galaxy. Now they were sending out a desperate message across space, begging anyone who would listen to help them survive. Their message traveled to hundreds of different worlds and species, but most aliens who received it just deleted it right away. The Zelhari had nothing special to offer. They didn't have rare metals or important locations or advanced weapons. They were just another simple species that was about to disappear forever. Most aliens thought helping them would be a waste of time and resources. But far away on a small blue planet called Earth, something different happened. Captain Li Jinwu of the Human Space Command was working late in his office when the translated message appeared on his screen. As he read about the Zelhari's situation, his face grew serious and determined. Unlike other species, Jinwu didn't think about what Earth might gain from helping. He thought about 2.3 billion innocent people who were about to die. He immediately called for an emergency meeting. 3 hours later, the most important human leaders were gathered in Geneva for an emergency session. Fleet Admiral Park So-young stood before the Global Defense Council and explained the situation clearly and quickly. The Zelhari planet will be hit in 18 days, she said. They have 2.3 billion people and they cannot evacuate themselves. Their ships are too slow and too few. The council members from different countries leaned forward in their chairs. This was bigger than anything humanity had ever attempted before. They had helped other species before, but never anything this massive. Representative Kim Taho from Korea asked the obvious question, "What choices do we have?" Admiral Park's answer was simple and direct. "We can try to save them all, or we can let them die." The room was quiet for a moment. Everyone understood what this meant. Saving 2.3 billion. Aliens would require almost every ship humanity had. It would be expensive and dangerous. Many humans might die in the attempt, but the vote was unanimous. Every single council member voted to help. The decision took only minutes. While humans were making this choice, other alien species were having different conversations. The powerful Galactic Council was debating whether they should send one old cargo ship to help the Zelhari. Most thought even that was too generous. Lieutenant Commander Han Minji was listening to communications from other species. She walked up to Admiral Park and said, "Admiral, the other aliens think we'll send maybe 5 ships. That's what they usually do for situations like this." Admiral Park looked at her and smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. "Then they don't know humans very well," she said. What the aliens didn't understand was that humans were different. When humans saw innocent people in danger, they didn't calculate profits or political advantages. They didn't think about what they might get in return. They just knew that helping was the right thing to do. As news of the decision spread across Earth, something amazing happened. Military officers volunteered their warships. Cargo ship captains offered their vessels. Even people with small private ships wanted to help. The response was so overwhelming that Space Command had to organize the largest fleet in human history. The other species in the galaxy had no idea what was coming. They expected humans to send a few token ships, just enough to look good but not enough to matter. They were about to learn that when humans decide to help, they don't do anything halfway. The emergency meeting in Geneva was unlike anything the world had ever seen. Within 3 hours, the most powerful people on Earth had gathered in one room to make a decision that would change everything. Fleet Admiral Park So-young walked into the council chamber with heavy steps, carrying folders full of data that would determine the fate of an entire alien civilization. The room was packed with representatives from every major nation on Earth. The tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Admiral Park stepped up to the podium and began speaking in her calm, professional voice. The Zelhari people have 18 days before a massive asteroid destroys their planet, she announced. We're talking about 2.3 billion lives, men, women, children, elderly, an entire civilization that has never hurt anyone. She clicked to the next slide, showing images of the Zelhari planet. They have no way to save themselves. Their technology is hundreds of years behind ours. They have a few small ships, but nothing that can carry more than a few thousand people. The council members shifted in their seats. Representative Kim Tae-ho from South Korea raised his hand. Admiral, what exactly are you asking us to do? Parks. The answer was brutally honest. We have two choices. We can mount the largest rescue operation in human history and try to save them all. Or we can do nothing and watch 2.3 billion innocent people die. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what she was really saying. To save the Zelhari, humanity would have to risk everything. They would need to send almost every ship they had, leaving Earth defenseless. Thousands of human lives would be at risk. Representative Chen Wei from China spoke up. How many ships would we need? Every single one we can spare, Admiral Park replied. Military vessels, cargo ships, passenger liners, even private yachts. We'll need to convert cruise ships into refugee transports and turn luxury liners into medical facilities. The numbers were staggering. The operation would cost trillions of dollars, would leave Earth's space defenses almost empty. If another threat appeared while their fleet was gone, humanity would be completely vulnerable. But then something remarkable happened. One by one, each representative began to speak. The delegate from Brazil stood up and said, My country votes yes. The representative from Nigeria followed, then Australia, then Japan. Within minutes, every single person in that room had voted to help. The decision was unanimous. Not one person voted to abandon the Zelhari. While humans were making this incredible choice, something very different was happening in the galaxy. The Galactic Council, made up of the most advanced alien species, was having their own meeting about the Zelhari situation. Perhaps we should send one of our old cargo ships, suggested the Vorthan ambassador. It would be a nice gesture. One ship seems excessive, replied the Centauri representative. The Zelhari have nothing to offer us in return. These powerful alien civilizations saw the situation as a simple business calculation. The Zelhari were poor, weak, and had no valuable resources. Why waste time and money helping them? Back on Earth, Lieutenant Commander Han Minji was monitoring alien communications from her post in the intelligence center. She listened to dozens of conversations between different species, and what she heard made her angry. She walked quickly to Admiral Park's office and knocked on the door. Admiral, you need to hear this. Han Minji played the recorded conversations. The other species are assuming we'll send maybe 5 ships at most. The Galactic Council thinks that's what humans do for humanitarian gestures. Admiral Park listened to the recordings and then looked up at Han Minji. Her expression was a mixture of determination and disgust. Then they don't understand humans very well, she said quietly. What the aliens didn't realize was that humans were completely different from them. When humans heard about innocent people in danger, they didn't think about profit margins or political advantages. They thought about families watching the sky in terror, knowing death was coming. Within hours, the largest mobilization in human history began. Military bases across Earth received urgent orders. Every available ship was recalled from patrol duties. Cargo companies volunteered their entire fleets. Cruise ship operators began ripping out entertainment decks to make room for refugees. The aliens were about to learn that when humans decide to help, they don't send a token force. They send everything they have. President Choi Yaeyansu stood before the world at the United Nations building. Her voice reached every person on Earth and in the space colonies. She spoke with quiet strength about the choice facing humanity. Stand at a crossroads today, she began. The Zelhari people have never helped us. They owe us nothing, and we owe them nothing. But they are living beings just like us, and they need our help to survive. The president paused, letting her words sink in. Around the world, people stopped what they were doing to listen. In coffee shops, offices, and homes, families gathered around screens. Even in the bustling space stations orbiting Earth, workers put down their tools. Some will ask why we should risk our ships and our people, she continued. Some will say we should protect ourselves first. But I believe our humanity is measured not by what we gain, but by what we give when others need us most.
Action reaction
Came faster than anyone expected. Within minutes of her speech ending, Captain Nam Jun-ho sent a message to Space Command from his cargo ship, the New Soul. He was carrying supplies to the Mars colonies, but that could wait. My ship can carry 300 refugees, he said over the radio. Just tell me where to go. His message sparked something incredible. Other captains began calling in. Small transport ships, luxury cruise vessels, even old mining haulers offered their services. The communication networks buzzed with volunteers. Dr. Song Haijin worked frantically in her laboratory. Earth's top expert on alien life, she knew they faced a huge challenge. The Zelhari were completely different from humans. Nobody knew if they could even breathe the same air. We have no idea what they need to survive, she told her medical team. We don't know if our medicines will help or hurt them. We don't even know if they can eat our food. Her team worked around the clock, preparing for every possibility. They packed different types of breathing equipment, various food samples, and medical supplies that might work for different body types. Meanwhile, Space Command transformed into a massive coordination center. Officers who usually managed routine supply runs now planned the biggest rescue mission ever attempted. Calculated fuel needs, mapped flight paths, and figured out how to fit the most people in the smallest spaces. The clock kept ticking. The deadly asteroid continued its path toward the Zelhari homeworld. 17 days seemed like forever and no time at all. Families said goodbye to loved ones joining the mission. Children hugged their parents who worked on the rescue ships. Everyone knew this was dangerous, but nobody backed down. In those first 6 hours after the president's speech, humanity showed its true character. Rich and poor, young and old, people from every nation contributed something. Some gave money, others offered their skills, and many volunteered to join the rescue fleets. The largest mobilization in human history had begun, all to save complete. Strangers who lived among distant stars, the view above Earth looked like something from a dream. Commander Bae Sungmin stood on the bridge of his massive warship, the Incheon, watching ships arrive from every direction. Never in his 30 years of service had he seen anything like this. Ships of every size and shape filled the space around Earth, giant cargo vessels that normally carried supplies between planets, now prepared to carry people, sleek passenger. Ships designed for luxury travel stripped out their fancy dining rooms. Even old mining ships, covered in space dust and looking ready for retirement, joined the gathering fleet. Sir, we have the final numbers, said Ensign Park Jun, looking up from her communication station. Her voice carried a note of amazement. 947 ships total, every type you can imagine. Commander Bae shook his head in wonder. That's almost our entire space fleet. We're leaving Earth with barely any protection. This was unprecedented. Never before had humanity sent so many ships away from home at once. Earth would be vulnerable, but everyone agreed the risk was worth it. Captain Oh Seung-hoon's voice came through the radio from the hospital ship Mercy. My medical teams are ready for anything. Dr. Song's people worked day and night to prepare. Special treatment tanks for the Zelhari. We still don't know exactly what they'll need, but we're prepared for different possibilities. The civilian ships impressed everyone the most. Captain Moon Heron had completely transformed her luxury cruise liner, where passengers once enjoyed gourmet meals and entertainment shows. She now had rows of simple sleeping areas. The swimming pools became storage spaces for emergency supplies. We removed everything fancy, she reported to Space Command. Every restaurant, every game room, every luxury suite. Now we can carry 4,000 Zelhari refugees. Maybe more if we squeeze them in tight. Other ship captains made similar sacrifices. The Golden Star cruise ship turned its ballroom into a medical center. The freight ship Dragon's Breath removed cargo containers to make room for families. Even small private yachts joined the fleet. each one carrying whatever they could manage. The preparation work happened incredibly fast. Engineers worked around the clock, installing extra life support systems. Cooks prepared massive amounts of different foods, not knowing what the Zelhari could eat. Doctors studied every piece of alien biology information they could find. Meanwhile, other alien species in the galaxy began noticing what humanity was doing. The Galactic Council, a group of the most powerful alien civilizations, sent urgent messages to Earth. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. "This is impossible," transmitted the Vrex ambassador. "No species commits this many resources to help strangers." The Korthok Empire sent warnings about leaving Earth undefended. The Centauri Federation offered to send observers to watch the rescue mission. They all seemed confused by human behavior. Humanity ignored most of these messages. There was no time for long discussions or explanations. Every hour counted as the asteroid moved closer to the Zelhari homeworld. The final preparations completed. The massive fleet prepared to jump into hyperspace. Nearly 1,000 ships would disappear from Earth's orbit, traveling faster than light toward a distant star system for the first time in centuries. Earth would be left almost defenseless. But humanity had made its choice, and there was no turning back now. The Zelhari's old scanning equipment began picking up strange readings from deep space. Elder Veltar watched the numbers on his screen with growing confusion. He had been monitoring space for over 40 years, but he had never seen anything like this. "These readings must be wrong," he muttered, tapping the screen with his long fingers. "The sensors are showing almost 1,000 ships heading our way." Other Zelhari scientists gathered around the ancient monitoring station. Their technology was hundreds of years behind what other species used, but it was reliable. The numbers kept climbing as more ships appeared on their sensors. "Could it be an invasion?" whispered one of the younger scientists. "Maybe someone wants to claim our planet after the asteroid destroys us." Elder Veltar shook his head. "The ships are coming from Earth's direction, but humans barely know we exist. Why would they send so many vessels?" Hours passed as the mysterious fleet grew closer. The Zelhari had prepared for the worst, expecting maybe a few small rescue ships if they were lucky. Most of their people had already accepted their fate. Then something incredible happened. The space above their planet suddenly filled with light. As nearly 1,000 ships dropped out of hyperspace, the sight was so amazing that Zelhari across the planet stopped what they were doing and stared up at the sky. Massive warships, bigger than anything the Zelhari had ever built, formed protective circles around smaller vessels. Hospital ships with bright red markings immediately began sending signals to the planet below. Enormous cargo ships moved into position, ready to receive passengers. Admiral Park Soyoung's voice came through every communication channel on the planet. She spoke slowly and clearly, using the basic Zelhari language that human computers had learned during the journey. "This is Admiral Park of the Human Rescue Fleet. We have come to evacuate your people, every single one of them. We will not leave anyone behind." The Zelhari leaders could barely believe what they were hearing. They'd expected maybe 1 or 2 small ships. Instead, humanity had sent nearly their entire space fleet. "Commander Yu." Jae-sung's voice followed from the assault transport Busan. "We have shuttlecraft ready to start landing operations. My teams are prepared to begin evacuation. Runs immediately." On the planet's surface, Zelhari families began gathering their few possessions. Children pressed their faces against windows, watching the human ships overhead. Parents whispered prayers of gratitude to whatever forces had brought this miracle. "Captain." Quan Mina, transmitted from the science vessel Discovery. "We have studied your language and your customs during our journey. We understand you have different needs than humans. We are prepared to help however we can." The evacuation began within hours. Human shuttlecraft descended from the massive ships above, their pilots carefully navigating through the planet's atmosphere. Each shuttle was equipped with different life support systems, ready for whatever the Zelhari might need. The efficiency was remarkable. Humans had planned every detail during their journey. They knew exactly how many people each ship could carry, which shuttles would go where, and how to move millions of refugees quickly and safely. But beyond the efficiency was something else: genuine compassion. Human crew members helped elderly Zelhari onto the shuttles. They carried young children who were too scared to walk. They worked tirelessly, knowing that every minute saved meant more lives rescued. The greatest rescue mission in Galactic history had begun. The rescue operation on the planet's surface went better than anyone had hoped. Major Lee Dong-haen coordinated ground teams that worked like a well-oiled machine. Every human soldier knew their job and did it with incredible care and respect. The teams had studied Zelhari culture during the journey, learning about their customs and beliefs. They knew which families needed to stay together, which religious items were important, and how to approach the more traditional communities. "Sir, we have a problem in the mountain villages," reported Sergeant Kim Unesio over the radio. "Elderly Zelhari are refusing to leave. They say this planet has been their home for generations, and they want to die here rather than live somewhere else." Major Lee didn't hesitate with his response. "Then we stay with them, keep trying to convince them, but we don't abandon anyone. No one dies alone on our watch." His team spread across the mountainous regions, patiently talking with the elderly Zelhari. They brought translators and cultural experts who explained that leaving didn't mean forgetting their heritage. Slowly, many of the reluctant families began to change their minds. Dr. Song Haijin worked day and night in the medical stations that humans had set up across the planet. She was amazed by what she discovered about Zelhari biology. Their body chemistry is surprisingly similar to ours, she reported to the medical teams. "We can use modified versions of our medicines to help them. They can breathe our air with minor adjustments, and they can eat many of our foods." This discovery made the evacuation much easier. The human ships didn't need completely different life support systems, just some modifications to accommodate the Zelhari. Captain Lim Soo-young had transformed her cargo ship, the Harmony, into a refugee transport. But she went beyond just moving people. Her crew carefully loaded Zelhari cultural artifacts, artwork, musical instruments, and historical documents. "We're not just saving lives," she told her team. "We're saving their entire civilization. Their art, their music, their stories, everything that makes them who they are." The most touching moments came when Zelhari families brought their beloved pets. These creatures looked like a mixture of cats and butterflies, with soft fur and delicate wings. They were clearly important to their owners, like family members. Without any discussion, human crews made room for every single pet. They modified cargo areas to create comfortable spaces for the animals and made sure they had appropriate food and care. Pilot Joe Woonshek flew shuttle missions almost continuously. His crew worked 8-hour shifts, barely stopping to rest. Their shuttles carried load after load of refugees from the surface to the waiting ships. "We're exhausted, but we can't stop," he told his team during a brief break. "Every trip we make saves more lives. We're not just rescuing people, we're preserving an entire way of life." The numbers looked good. With 4 days remaining before the asteroid impact, 90% of the Zelhari population had been evacuated. The operation was succeeding beyond everyone's wildest dreams. Then the bad news arrived. The asteroid's path had changed slightly, probably due to gravitational effects from nearby planets. It was moving faster than expected, and the impact would come sooner. The countdown had just gotten shorter, and there were still hundreds of thousands of Zelhari waiting for rescue.